Sage Wanderer coming at you from my van down by the river. So I want to talk about Antifa and the fake news. Really, I want to talk about all of these rallies of various different sorts and the fake media coverage of them. But let me just touch on the one I was at. I was at Patriot Prayer Rally in Portland. I saw Antifa, a majority, massively majority white. Maybe one black guy in that entire group of Antifa that I saw. And they vastly outnumbered the Patriot Prayer people, who are all mixed race people, from the founder, who's half Asian and half Anglo, and you've got a mixed race, mostly African American co-founder with dreadlocks. There's Hispanics that are a part of this movement, and then there's the Proud Boys, which those guys are mainly, they're like a kind of a MGTOW they're anti political correctness, so they're a pro-free speech group. But they're also kind of in defense of toxic masculinity, perhaps. But they've been drawn into this political battle. And I saw the coverage on that from sea to shining sea, from the national coverage to regional coverage to the local coverage. And they all said that was a white supremacist rally. When I infiltrated Antifa behind the sign, see Making of You're a Communist video, to see that discussion, what it was like to be back there talking to them, confronting them, really. I was being very confrontational because I know what they are. And anyway, they were basically trying to convince me that those were all Nazis and all white supremacists. And I said, no, they're not. I've been over there. They're not. And they're like, well, no, you didn't see the symbols. They've got Nazi flags over there. I didn't see any Nazi flags over there. I saw American flags. I saw American everything. This really is, Antifa is against America. They were just recently chanting at the rally last weekend. No border, no walls, no United States at all, or no USA at all. That's sedition. That's treasonous. That's anti-American. And in the world I grew up in the 60s and 70s, you could be arrested for that kind of talk. I can't believe they're not being arrested. I mean, I'm for free speech, but not when you're threatening an individual or our nation and its way of life. When you're calling for the overthrow of the government, they didn't let us patriots get away with that kind of talk in the 90s. They shouldn't let these people get away with it now. But they seem to be, because Antifa is selling this false narrative that anybody that opposes them is a white supremacist, and CNN and the local news and all of them, anybody in the press, there's an entire press blackout on this. I'm here to tell you, these people they're calling white supremacists are not white supremacists. That one of those people in D.C., there was like, 20 people. They said there's 20 white. Even alt-right media is saying there's 20 white supremacists. They're just giving them that those 20 people were all white supremacists. When I watched the thing, I watched the speeches. One of those guys was covered up pretty well, but I'm pretty sure he was the Latinos from Trump guy from California, and was a very dark-complected Latino. I think another guy was the guy that wore a MAGA hat into a bar and got his face smashed in with a beer bottle by some Black Lives Matter people on the dance floor because he was wearing a MAGA hat. And he's had to have a lot of plastic surgery to have his face put back together. And was there a white supremacist in there? Maybe white separatists, I don't know, but I'm here to tell you they weren't all white supremacists. And there was only 20 of them. And those people outside were all filled with hate, calling for their heads, demanding they not have freedom of speech to even stand in the public square and tell us what they are. How do we know what they are? They're not even given permission to speak in this society. I'm not defending white supremacists at all. I'm an American. Americans come in all colors. Americans come in every variety and shade. I'm not anti or homophobic at all. I don't have a problem with LGBTQ community people. I had friends before Trump derangement syndrome ruined our friendship. These people believe that if you supported Trump, you're a Nazi. And so the news is saying all these people are white supremacists and Nazis. But the criteria for being that is someone who supports Donald Trump, because they've made this narrative that if you support Donald Trump, you're a Nazi because he's a Nazi. And they haven't even proven he's a Nazi. It's all quite insane. It's all quite insane. And the media is complicit to it. And it seems to me there's a cabal of corporations that are also complicit to it. They're involved in the deception. They're involved in political repression against anyone who voted for or supports Donald Trump, our current president. It's a form of sedition and treason that needs to be dealt with by our government. And these corporations are silencing people in the virtual town square from being allowed to speak. And Antifa is silencing people from the actual town square so they cannot speak. This is beginning in small doses, and it is getting bigger and bigger as we sit and let it happen. This is a sign of a communist revolution in our country. They're not shooting at us yet, but I bet they will before it's all over. Unless we can call them on it now, while we still have the freedom of speech, while we still have a platform online, while we still have the right to buy and sell. This is a crisis, and many of you are sleeping through it while you listen to the fake news drone on about Omarosa, a person I figured was a liar clear back on her first season on The Apprentice. She showed us who she was then. My big question is, why did he hire her? All right, God save our republic.